I take this opportunity to welcome you to my channel, especially if this is your very first time to watch, and I guarantee you will never regret. Over the past, we have successfully looked at the nomenclature of the following compounds. Number 1, alkanes. Number 2, alkenes. Number 3, alkynes. Number 4, halogen derivatives of hydrocarbons. Number 5, alcohols. Number 6, ketones and aldehydes, collectively known as carbonyl compounds. Number 7, carboxylic acids. And now, let us put our attention on the nomenclature of a class of compounds known as amines. In ammonia, nitrogen is covalently bonded to 3 other hydrogen atoms. Now, if the hydrogen atoms on ammonia are replaced by alkyl groups, then the result is what is known as an amine. Displayed above are examples of amines. Do not worry about their names. We shall get used to naming them because that is our area of interest. From above, therefore, since there are 3 hydrogen atoms in ammonia, when only 1 hydrogen of ammonia is replaced by an alkyl group, then the amine that is produced is classified as a primary amine. Displayed above is an example of a primary amine. As I have said previously, do not worry about the nomenclature because that is what we are going to learn. Also, when 2 hydrogen atoms of ammonia are replaced by alkyl groups, then the type of amine or the class of amine that is produced is known as secondary amine. An example of a secondary amine has been displayed above. As I have said, do not worry about the name. And finally, when all the 3 hydrogen atoms of ammonia are replaced by alkyl groups, then the class of amines that is produced is what is known as tertiary amines. Displayed above is an example of a tertiary amine and its corresponding Iupac name. Please, as I have said, do not worry about the names that have been displayed in the previous 3 examples, since we are going to learn how to generate such names. Therefore, our nomenclature is going to be subdivided into 2 parts. The first part, we learn how to name primary amines. And the second part, we shall learn how to name both secondary and tertiary amines. According to Iupac, the name of an amine is generally obtained by replacing the letter E in the name of the corresponding alkane with the word amine. Please, the words corresponding alkane in this case refer to an alkane of equal number of carbon atoms with the amine. Displayed above are some examples to illustrate the general rule. Notice methanamine has only 1 carbon atom. Ethanamine has 2 carbon atoms. Now, the above is just a general rule, is that if you want to obtain the name of an amine, then replace the letter E in the name of the corresponding alkane with the word amine. However, if you want to name longer chain primary amines. How do you name them? Number one, always assign numbers to the carbon atoms of the carbon chain bearing the amino group such that the amino group is located on the carbon atom with the lowest number. 2. Write down the name of the amine by using the format displayed above. Our first example displayed above there is a primary amine whose name, by basing on the above format, becomes propan 1 amine. Please notice that the amino group is on carbon atom number 1. Second example displayed above, according to the format, has a Iupac name as butan 2 amine, and also notice that the amino group is on the second carbon atom. Now, in the above examples, we have been getting used on how to name primary amines that have long carbon chains. How about if you are also supposed to name alkyl substituted primary amines? Therefore, the nomenclature of such an amine is done by following the guidelines above. Guideline number 1 is that locate the parent chain. And when we talk about the parent chain, we mean the longest unbranched carbon chain in the amine that bears the amino group. Guideline number 2 is that always assign numbers to the parent chain of the amine such that the carbon atom that bears the amino group has the lowest number. We shall practice that one severally. Guideline number 3 is that if you are having more than one different alkyl substituents on the carbon chain of the amine, then such alkyl substituents must be written by basing on their alphabetical superiority. The final guideline, or guideline number 4, is that in case you are having more than one similar alkyl substituents on the carbon chain of the amine, then the prefixes di meaning 2, tri meaning 3, tetra meaning 4, and so on must be used to indicate the number of repeated alkyl substituents. So without wasting time, let us try to apply the above rules. By following the rules stated above, let us try to name each of the following compounds. Now, the first guideline states that we should obtain the parent chain. In this case, the parent chain is the longest carbon-carbon chain in the compound that is attached to the amino group. So we transverse our compound. Now when we transverse here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So for that case, therefore, the longest is this, and becomes our parent chain. Now notice that this parent chain has our functional group, the amino group, which is our point of interest. The second guideline says, after identifying the parent chain, assign numbers to the carbon atoms in the parent chain such that the functional group, in this case the amino group, takes the lowest number. So that means we shall number from here such that this amino group, functional group, takes the lowest position or number. Now, like we have been doing, the positions 4 and position 5, also position 2, are very important because on those positions there are groups that have been attached. Now, without wasting time, we write the name of our compound. The two are similar, so we just write them, the numbers, and separate by using a comma, then the prefix di, then methyl. So at this step, we have already written the alkyl substituents. Then what is the parent chain? The parent chain is to deal with heptane. Then on position 2, we have our amine. So following from above, when we are naming this, the same guideline, number 1 says that identify the parent chain. As I've said severally, please, in order to obtain the correct parent chain, always transverse the given compound. So if you transverse and see all the possible carbon to carbon connections, then you will be able to successfully and accurately obtain the correct parent chain. But without wasting time, I want to believe that all of you will agree with me by showing you this as the parent chain. Now, after obtaining our parent chain, we assign numbers to the carbon atoms on the parent chain, starting from the side closest to the amino group. So this becomes 1, I beg your pardon. So this becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, and for that case 5. Now on position 3, there is a substituent and also position 1. In this case, this is the substituent. This is the substituent. So after obtaining the facts, now we can write the name by starting with the name of the substituent. So on position 3, we have our methyl substituent, then followed by the parent name. What is the parent name? The parent name is to deal with 5 carbons. So from our previous guideline, this becomes, and then on position 1, we have our amino group. Finally, our third example here, as I have said here, identify the parent chain. To obtain the correct, accurate parent chain, please always transverse the compounds. But as I have said, out of practice, please, I know you will agree with me that this that I have indicated in red is the parent chain. Why? Because it has the highest number of carbon. Now, after obtaining your parent chain, assign numbers to the parent chain such that the amino group takes the lowest number. So this becomes therefore 1, and this is 2, position 3, position 4, position 5, 6, this is 7, this is 8, and that one is 9. Now, on position 7, there are 2 groups, this one and that one. On position 5, there is a methyl group. On position 3, we have that one and that one. Now, the groups that we have, must be written in alphabetical order. So without wasting time, the first is on position 7, which is a cyclopropyl group, followed by, now on position 7 and position 5, we have two methyl groups, so we write them 5, 7 dimethyl, and finally on position 3 we are having a secondary propyl group. And our parent name is to deal with a 9-carbon primary amine. So we have the word now. In these 3 examples here, we have been learning how to practice the rules of nomenclature for alkyl substituted primary amines. After having successfully learned the Iupac nomenclature of primary amines, let us conclude by looking at the nomenclature of secondary and tertiary amines. Well, these are also known as nitrogen substituted amines. And for that case, therefore, Iupac gives us the following guidelines, is that to name a secondary amine, number 1, first identify the longest alkyl substituent for the secondary amine. And the longest alkyl substituent is therefore the parent chain. So the first guideline is that you should always identify the longest alkyl substituent attached to the secondary amine, and that becomes the parent chain. 2, write down the name of the secondary amine by starting with the capital letter N followed by a hyphen and the name of the other alkyl substituent followed by the parent name of the amine. Notice that the parent name of the amine corresponds to the parent chain, which has been determined in the step above. So there is an example there. Notice that the propyl group is the longest and therefore becomes the parent chain, while the methyl group is very short, and therefore we can now conclude that the name is N-methyl propan 1 amine. Following from this, the nomenclature of tertiary amine is very much similar to the nomenclature of secondary amine. Is that according to Iupac, we shall still determine the longest alkyl substituent that is attached to nitrogen, and this becomes the parent chain. 2, we write down the name of the tertiary amine by starting with a capital letter N followed by a hyphen, the name of alkyl group followed by another hyphen, the name of another alkyl group, and finally the parent name of the tertiary amine. Notice that the parent name of the tertiary amine corresponds to the name of the parent chain that has been obtained in the step above. Different alkyl substituents must be written in alphabetical superiority. And finally, in case of similar alkyl substituents, then the name of the amine is obtained by writing the capital letter N twice, separated by a comma, followed by a hyphen, then the prefix di, followed by the name of the similar alkyl substituent, and finally the parent name. Now, displayed above are some two examples. Please notice that in the first example there, still the parent chain is propyl, the propyl group, while the ethyl group and the methyl group are substituents, and by following the format stated above is that the name of that amide there becomes N-ethyl N-methyl propan-1 amine. And finally, the second example displayed above, notice that the butyl group is the longest and therefore becomes the parent chain, while the two methyl groups are substituents. And since they are similar, by using the guidelines above, the name of that amine becomes N, N-dimethyl butan 1 amine. Well, this has been my oral presentation. How about if we do something tangible, physical? So join me in the next episode where we are having some random amino compounds to name. By using the guidelines above, let us name these. Please notice that in all the examples, we are having nitrogen substituted amines. So, according to the guidelines above, is that first and foremost, these two groups we are supposed to identify the longest, and the longest becomes the parent chain. So, without wasting time, numbering our carbon chain here, this becomes position 1, position 2, position 3, and position 4. So on our parent chain is that the position 1 and position 2 are for consideration. We can therefore now write our name by following from above. The name therefore becomes N-ethyl. Now, in that we have taken into consideration this is the ethyl group that we have written here, followed by the parent name. What is the parent name? The parent name is from here, is that we have the parent name is 2-methyl, and then this becomes the second example mandates that we should identify the longest of these three Therefore, this is the longest and becomes our parent chain. After becoming our parent chain, we assign numbers to that parent chain, starting from here. So position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we can therefore write the name by basing on the alphabetical superiority of these two groups, since they are different. So the one superior is the ethyl group, followed by ethyl group. Now the name of that one there is to deal with 5 straight chain amine. Our third and final example, like we have done here, we need to identify the longest alkyl substituent, and therefore this becomes our carbon, our parent chain, because it is the longest. So therefore these two become the other alkyl substituents. We proceed to number our parent chain. This becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now specific interest on our parent chain is on position 3 and also position 1. So we write the name. These two are similar. Therefore now we can write our name as follows. Since these two are the same, and now our parent chain. On position 3 of the parent chain, there is a methyl group. Still on position 3, we have a neobutyl, followed by the parent name. What is the parent name? 6 carbon straight chain amine, which is notice that this is a secondary amine. This and this are both tertiary amines. At this point, I take this opportunity to once again thank you, my ardent viewer. Do you have any challenging concept as regards organic chemistry? Please contact me by sending me an email using the email in the description of this video. Until next time, I remain yours truly, the chemistry teacher. Goodbye.